Former Speaker McCarthy had called for an ethics investigation for Mr. Bowman after he pulled the fire alarm. He pleaded guilty to that charge today. Do you think that anything should go forward for Mr. Bowman, any sort of discipline or an inquiry here in the House?
Look, he was, a misdemeanor? He has to pay a fine? Is that what happened?
And write a letter to the Capitol Police saying he did wrong.
What are we, in 7th grade? You gotta
Well,
write
that's what the judge ordered.
Okay. That a judge here in D.C.?
Yes.
All right. But time out. So let me get something straight.
Oh, look,
January 6th was a terrible day. It was terrible. I was here. I was on the House floor. There were people who did things on that day they should not have done. I've said that from day one. There were also other people, when the doors were open, right, wrong, or indifferent, they walked in the building. They were given, what, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years? And my colleague has to write a letter? Come on. This is one of the problems overall. I'm going to leave that to ethics, and I'm going to leave it to the Speaker. I'm not going to comment
But that
anymore.
wasn't during the certification of the Electoral College. We only meet in a joint session of Congress.
We were in the middle of a vote series.
A vote on a quorum call, as I recall.
An official proceeding of business is an official proceeding of business.
So you think there's a parallel between the Bowman situation and January 6th?
No, I don't think that. What I'm saying is that it is clear that the U.S. Attorney in the District of Columbia and the judges in the District of Columbia wield they wield the system differently depending on your political party. That is what I'm saying.
Why do you think it's appropriate to have a Speaker of the House who objected to the 2020 election?
What are we to what? Question. Here's the back question to that. Did Hakeem object to the 16 elections? He wants to be Speaker of the House too. Did Nancy? I think she did. She was Speaker of the House.
But there weren't roll call votes on those. That's the difference. He voted against certification. There weren't roll call votes. That didn't go to a separate session in both the House and Senate like we did in 2005 when they contested Ohio. That's the difference.
Okay, but he is a member of Congress elected by his voters. They elected him. He made that decision. I made the same decision, by the way. Does that mean that I'm no longer qualified to serve in leadership? Come on now. We got to stop that.
Does it mean you'll vote to certify the 2024 election? I think some people are wondering about that given his past position.
My voters sent me here to represent them the same way Speaker Johnson's voters sent him here to represent them. Members are allowed to vote how they choose. You may not like the vote, but that is how they vote. And the only people who can decide whether they're qualified to represent them anymore are the people that sent them here in the first place. Not the press, not lawyers and judges up here around this building who frankly are wielding justice in a most disgusting way because it is partisan and it is not actually about the rule of law. They're not doing it blindly. They're not doing it even-handedly. They're picking and choosing. So if the question is because Mike Johnson made a decision to vote the way he did, that means that he is now incapable? That is ridiculous. The only people that can make that judgment are the people of Louisiana who sent him here.
You mentioned how important the border is. How concerned are you with the 6 to 7, I would say 10 million illegals that have come across it, that we may have people that want to do us harm that have already come in? Yeah. And how concerned are you that if we don't do something, that risk is going to increase?
Man, this thing is so terrible, what Joe Biden has done. It's terrible. Because, first of all, we've brought in 8 to 10 million people. We don't know where most of them are. They say they have a court case for asylum, but we know they're not going to show up. They're in our country. We have no ability to manage them. Go ask Eric Adams in New York. He'll tell you. We got no ability to manage them. And this guy at the White House and his nutty staff don't even bother going down to see the problem firsthand. They just continue acting like nothing's going on. This is a tragedy for the country. For a lot of the people that have come in, yeah, they're gonna have to go back home. We cannot just take everybody as a nation. We cannot. Who it hurts the most, poor black kids in the inner city who are trying to get caught up in school because they were left out of school for 2 years because of crazy Democrat policy. They're trying to play catch up, but now what's happening is there are migrant children in those same classrooms who don't speak English, so the school systems have to now hire translators for those kids to be able to catch up. What happens to the poor black kid whose parents are just barely doing enough to get by? He's trying to get an education. How is he supposed to thrive in America? I say that because I was that poor black kid. What happens to a poor Mexican kid who now the resources at his school are being diverted Because in these shelters that were set up by HHS, they're hiring teachers out of these school districts to go into the holding facilities to teach kids in the holding facilities. What about the Mexican kid who needs that additional time? He can't get access to it because of Joe Biden's stupid policy. This is not just reckless about our border, it's reckless about the economic future of this country and the leadership of this country, because our children are falling behind because of it. That's all I got.
Thank you, sir.